450.
Can belief turn up, show up, fight? Bhavna, take it away, Jindal Panther Cricket Live. Let's figure out how Team India can return the favour and turn back this test match on day 2.
Thank you so much, Jatin. I know you were standing alongside and chatting with a bunch of serious-looking men, but I've got Matthew Hayden beside me, a man with a spring in his step this morning, and rightfully so, because of the way Australia have batted on day 1 of the WTC final. What will the conversations be in the dressing?
With smiles on their faces, because they'd also had a bit of a look at the new ball at the tail end of day 1. And they'll be looking to build this partnership, continue on much the same. We saw Steve Smith anchor the innings yesterday with a strike rate of around about 40 most of the day, whereas Travis Head was a little more expansive. He was able to play his shots and regularly as well. Boundaries seem to be, really leaking. And we just heard Sonny talking about the lengths from India's point of view. Australia would have been so happy with the lengths because they were too short. And then when they actually wanted to get Head out with some short pitch bowling, they kept that. And then you might see some action, because it's all Australians to lose at this stage. But India, if they bowl well and believe strong enough, can actually get back into this test match. That's what we love about test match cricket. It's not played over 20 overs, it's played over 5 days.
And that's why it is the purest form of cricket, isn't it? It's up to India now to turn that frown upside down. Let's check out what's on the menu today.
Beautiful city.
Big day for Team India at the Oval, day 2 of the WTC final. And we've got 2 very fine gentlemen in the house on Jindal Panther Cricket Live with us. Sani Ji, Dada, welcome to the show. I'm going to take you back in time to the year 2001. We're going to call this segment Dadagiri. A similar thing happened there as well. At the end of day 1, Australia were 326 for 3. But after lunch...
Absolutely.
Yeah, Sani Ji, what would you really like to see from Team India as they walk out into the field today, just in terms of body language, mindset and demeanour?
Well, obviously the body language makes a big difference to the opposition as well. So clearly I think they've got to run onto the ground and show that they're keen to get on with the game. They've got a second new ball in their hand. Yes, it's been bowled for a couple of overs, but they've still got a hard new ball. And that is their strength, because look, they've gone in with one spinner. And that spinner will really come in handy maybe on days 4 and 5. But clearly, I think with the kind of attack that they've got to go out and bend their backs. Mohammad Shami, Mohammad Siraj bowled superbly yesterday in the first session. And they really had the Australians in trouble. Yes, you need a bit of luck. You play and miss, and that's what some of the Australians did. But this is where maybe today you might get the edges. And for that also, I think, there has to be a proactiveness in terms of, the fielders in the slips. The slip fielders have to literally stand in line with the wicketkeeper. It's, sometimes you stand a little bit behind. I would rather have a catch being taken here than the catch falling short there, because the fielder has been half a step behind. So that is what you want, because still you get that opportunity, young men, to get their reflexes to do that. Now, because you won't get too many opportunities on this pitch. This is a very good pitch to bat on. The ball is hard, and you bowl the length that got Manas Labuschagne out. Bowl the odd bouncer. Bowl it to Travis Head, because he's going to go for it. Also put a shot, a third man for the ram shot. But believe that you can get Australia out.
Yeah, when you believe, great things do happen. But how do India find themselves in this place? Here's a quick recap to get your own speed.
Day 2.
Australia is certainly on the driver's seat at the moment, but everything can change within a session, and that's what we've seen in Test cricket. Dada, what would you have done differently if you were the captain yesterday?
It's easier saying from outside what you would have done differently, and I'm sure Rohit Sharma tried his best. Sometimes when you try best and the bowlers are not in rhythm, it becomes difficult as well. As I said, India bowled a bit too short. That's something which they need to rectify today. But as you said, that yesterday is gone. Let's not think about yesterday, and let's think about today. They've come out of T20 cricket. They've played T20 for the last 2.5, 3 months, and to come and adjust to the lengths sometimes becomes very difficult. And we saw that even Mohammad Shami with the new ball also to Warner was a fraction short. But then you learn as the series goes on. It's a one-off test, so the pressure is more. And as I said, India comes and rectifies today, bowls better lengths. In these conditions, let the batsman cover drive you. Let the batsman
100%.
hit you in front of the wicket rather than square of the wicket. You know, and I'll give you a small example. I don't like going back to my days all the time. In 2007, when Rahul Dravid came here as captain and we won the series against England after 25 years, we made a conscious decision that we will bowl without a point and a square leg. If you hit us through point and square leg, that means you were on length. We wanted, and we had swing bowlers in Zaheer Khan, RP Singh and Srishant, and we forced them to bowl up so that the batsman hit through covers, and we got 20 wickets every test match. So I think that's what Rahul Dravid needs to go back and have a word with Shami, with Umesh. Umesh looked a bit off colour yesterday. He has to run in and turn up and hit the deck hard. So you cannot be that up and down in test matches, especially in these conditions when you're a front line bowler. But as I said, yesterday is gone. They can come back today, get them out, bat well, and see how it goes in the test match.
Yeah, they need to think about the present. The bowlers need to be the best version of themselves in this day two of the WTC final. Now, Sunnyji, you've been the epitome of patience and perseverance, especially on this ground where you have a double century. What would you do differently today?
Well, again, the length will have to be all right. I think maybe the field was a little too attacking in the sense that even when Travis Head was smashing the ball around, you had 2 and 3 slips when the ball was not doing anything. And at that stage, maybe one of the fielders could have been in the boundary saving position. Then the runs would not have come at that pace. And so there are sessions where you know that the batter is on top, and then you are looking to have the batter make that mistake. And he's in form, he's striking the ball well. You want to make sure that he doesn't get the boundaries. There were so many times yesterday, for example, when Jadeja was bowling, that he was cutting the ball and he was cutting the ball late. He was driving through the covers, and those boundaries could have been saved. So
The pack. These great sides of India used to do exactly that. Stick to a plan, hunt to a pack. But on the Australian point of view, it's much the same. If India don't turn up today, continue to bowl short and back lengths, continue to get cut, continue to go over the top of third man, they're just going to get owned through this first session. And if they get owned in this first session from an Australian point of view, they're just going to boss this test match. It's going to slip away so quickly. So runs have to be hard to score by. From an Australian point of view, you can only bat how these conditions are. It's a beautiful day. You've got a tied bowling attack. Already got a new ball that's been wasted last night. So, it's really happy days. You just got to keep batting.
And you only get one shot at this. This is the up to Australia. The Indian flag flies high because they believe that India can effect a comeback, can put in a big fight to make sure that day two belongs to them. Still in conversation with Haydos and Sunnyji. Just to watch Steve Smith make those runs in the middle, somebody like a Virat Kohli must really be itching to get his game on, right?
look, every time, there have been these, top batters in the game and they play against each other. And there's always been that little comparison, the top easier as the day goes on, because with the sun beating down, whatever little help there will be for the seamers with the grass, that will also go down. And therefore, he knows that he's got to show the same kind of
colossal of an individual in terms of Test match cricket. And yeah, look, he went about his innings, I think, in such a great way to play here in England. You wear down an opposition, you bat a lot of time out, you wait for the opposition also to change their plans and bowl into the areas that you like to score runs. He keeps it so simple, and he's also just the ultimate lure for a bowler as well, because he grabs across his crease, he gives the bowlers a great look at his stumps, and then of course they're like a moth to a naked flame. They just hone in on the top of the stumps, and suddenly then Smith shuffles and bang, off he goes through the leg side. And so those lengths that we keep talking about from Team India's point of view, they have to be in and around the top of that off stump. That's if we did a beehive, I'm sure, of yesterday's performances, and we'll do this in commentary today, I reckon 80%, maybe even more, of cricket balls are not hitting the stumps. And Steve Smith knows that. He's patient enough to keep playing out in the middle, bat time, and work an opposition and wear an opposition down. And that's why he's one of the greats of the modern day game.
Yeah, looking to make use of every opportunity is Steve Smith. Time for a quick break on Jindal Panther Cricket Live. Welcome back to Jindal Panther Cricket Live. Day 2 session is about to start in some time from now. Sunny Ji, what should be the bowling plans? You obviously want those wickets, but you can't afford to concede too many runs now that Australia have already made 327.
Yes, so I would maybe not look to have 3 slips in position. Maybe the early wickets. The ball, yes, they took the second new ball yesterday, but it is still hard. It is still new. Hold the right lines and length. Get the early wickets and who knows.
Look, Haydos, yesterday we saw Steve Smith and Travis Head really frustrate the Indian bowlers. But we have to understand that Australia bats deep as well. After this, you've got a Cameron Green, Pat Cummins, Mitchell Starc, Alex Carey to follow. And right before the start of play today as well, we saw a lot of them coming in, warming up and practicing, which tells you that they're not taking this lightly.
Never. This is the ultimate test match. Australia love playing against India. They're in a winning position. Australia loves to be also...
Detailed ground report.
Not too many pleasing visuals from an Indian fan's perspective, but that can change today. Day 2 at the WTC final at Kennington.
Giving himself just a little bit of room and then playing the ram shot over the slips for boundaries. So clearly, he's given a lot of thought to what the bowlers would be doing and adjusted his game. But at no stage, really at no stage, apart from those couple of deliveries which he sort of, was a little bit uncomfortable against, he at no stage looked like he was going to get out.
Yeah, this 29-year-old Southpaw became the first cricketer in the history of the WTC final to make 100. But how can India stop him? TDG talks to us about this in his DBS Bank game plan. Spinner in India's playing 11 at the WTC final. What will Ravindra Jadeja's role be today, Sanjay?
Well, not just to contain the scoring, but also to take wickets. And, if he can bowl cricket, so he knows how important in England particularly it is to keep the bat and pad together, even when you're looking to play the push drive. So the ball sneaking in is the one way. I also feel that because he's got this exaggerated back and across movement, that sometimes when the ball nips back in, he can be vulnerable to the LBW, particularly at the start of the innings when you're not really set, when your feet are not quite moving as quickly as they should. That is what the Indians should be looking to get that incoming delivery, and maybe you get him, and whether you get him before 100, whether you get him out 100, 108, 109, that is still going to be a big blow because, otherwise he is the kind of person who can wear you down like he did yesterday.
Yeah, we're nearing day's play here at day 2 in the WTC final, but what is the pitch looking like today? We get a ground report from our experts.
Spinning by then.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Look, when you see the Australians, they have been challenging us every step of the way. But you know what? We decided to spin things around and throw a few curveballs their way. Let's find out how the men from down under got up to that chance. Thank you so much for joining us on Jindal Panther Cricket Live. Day 2, Session 1 is complete. Australia stand at a 422 at a loss of 7 wickets. But this session has well and truly belonged to the Indian contingent. We've got Sunny Ji, the OG, with us, and the former Indian captain Nasir Hussain joins us on the show. Sunny Ji, just the kind of demeanour they displayed, the kind of fight back that you saw from Team India. How did they turn things around? 4 wickets in this session.
Yes, I think very good. They'll be very, very happy. They'll have a much better lunch than they had yesterday with those 4 wickets. When Siraj bowled those 2 half volleys to give Steve Smith two easy deliveries to get to 100, it looked like, it's going to be another long day. But then they came back very...
Siraj once again producing that breakthrough, dismissing the in-form Travis Head when it was needed.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a change of plan, wasn't it? Late yesterday, probably too late actually, that they went with keeper. So a big wicket, and that sort of started things off because Travis Head was the one that was scoring at nearly run a ball. 160 to get a new batter in was absolutely pivotal.
Yeah, absolutely. He played the aggressor, and it was important to pick his wicket right at the top. And that's exactly what Siraj was planning to do all along. He changed his length and he got Travis Head.
Yes, sometimes you don't get the pitches. Yes, he hit a couple very nice boundaries, but he was always, you could see, he was not very comfortable playing with those short deliveries.
Yeah, and then Mohammad Shami had to follow that up, obviously, dismissing Cam Green early on. That was definitely necessary to just keep the momentum going from Team India's end?
Yeah, it was a good India. You'll be catching a lot of things waist high. Cold fingers even on a sunny day in England, and fingers pointing up, really good catch.
Young Shubman Gill features in our Attenberg safe hands. Great reflexes that we saw from the young man, sort of switching his hand movements till the very last second.
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen that even in Test matches in India as well, and even in the one-day games and the T20 games, he's shown his how good he's in the slips. He's got lovely hands. They are soft when they're looking to give that just that little bit of cushion, and you can see over here with the fingers pointing up, which is not the natural way that a lot of Indians catch, but he had to make a quick decision because the ball was travelling. Green had thrown the bat at it. The ball had taken a thick edge, but fantastic catching.
Yeah, but our Cadbury Dairy Milk top moment truly belongs to the great Steve Smith. Yet another 100.
Stephen Smith, by telling him nets are cancelled or something, he absolutely hates it. So he loves cricket, he loves batting. His record in England, I think he averages over 100 in the last 9 tests. He's a record around the world. He's just a phenomenal cricketer. You know, that was a key wicket because he looked like he was booked in for bed and breakfast, trying to look together.
But yes, I think for somebody who loves batting as much as Steve Smith does, if you took away his favourite bat, because look, every batter, even if he's carrying half a dozen bats with him, he has one bat which is his favourite. One bat he'll probably not use so much in the nets. He'll want to keep it, safe for the matches, so that it's absolutely there. And so yes, I would imagine that would be the biggest punishment that you can give him. Take away one of his favourite bats. But look, this man is phenomenal. I mean, we've seen him score hundreds all over. There was that 100 he scored in Pune on a pitch where the ball was turning square. It has got to be one of the finest hundreds we've seen in India for a long, long time.
Yeah, and 100 today as well, adding to his kitty, making his 31 Test 100 in his career. But he wouldn't have liked the way he got dismissed. That magical delivery from Shardul Thakur, his first ever delivery in this spell today.
Back on that, been very, very disappointed. But that's what Shardul Thakur does. He has a knack, doesn't he? He has a knack of breaking partnerships. He has a knack of getting wickets. He has a really good record on this ground. Did it against England here a couple of years ago with bat and ball. I think he's been a good selection, actually, for India. That third, fourth seamers role, whatever you want to call it. Bats a bit. Good, honest cricketer. I like him as a cricketer.
We'll move on to our Amazon Plan Smart Move, Amazon Prime Smart Move, where we talk about the Indian Pacers' plans to dismiss Steve Smith. One of the modern day great Steve Smith. But India had already picked 3 wickets in this session, and if that wasn't enough, that fantastic run-up by Akshar Patel.
It was brilliant. Now, whether Stark just switched on, what a year he's having, Akshar Patel, bat, ball in the field, even if he's not playing, he's contributing. He knew it was out. It was a brilliant bit of fielding, it really was.
And we're having a great time right here at the Kennington Oval watching the ultimate test. We don't call this the purest format of the game for nothing, but what makes it even more interesting is when you switch up the balls, when you play in different parts of the world. What makes the Duke's ball significant and special? We find out on this very special episode of Star Labs.
Test.
Nazir could probably give us an entire thesis on the Duke's ball and how to handle it to perfection. You've played with the Duke's ball your entire career, so how challenging is it to play with the Duke's ball, and who do you think will have better purchase from it, India or Australia?
It is challenging, but that's the point of the game. That's the point of Test cricket. You travel the world, you play in different conditions, you play against different bowlers, different pitches, different balls. And what makes cricketers at the end of their career great cricketers are the ones, and great batters are the ones that have got runs all round the world. So people who come here and get runs, Stephen Smith, Virat Kohli when he has toured, Rohit Sharma and KL Rahul, the way they played the Duke's ball at Lords that first morning of the first test at Lords was absolutely magnificent. What makes it challenging? It swings for longer, it stays harder longer, but it also comes onto the bat nicely. So Kookaburra ball after 30-40 overs will sound dull off your bat a bit, but here, if you're in, it just goes flying off the bat, and that's why the run rate here is nearly 4 runs and over. Who will use it the best? The ones that bowl that fuller length. And that bowl it a little bit 6 inches fuller, the length that got Cameron Green out from Shami today, that's what you have to do with the Duke's ball.
Thank you so much for your insights, Naz. We will continue our chat right
slowly creeping back into this game.
If you are an India fan, I'm sure you have a big smile on your face. We've already seen 100 and 150 in this WTC final. And if there is one man itching to get a ton at this very ground where he hasn't managed to conquer the Kennington Oval yet, it is Virat Kohli. But before he gets out to bat, here is an exclusive chat from the man himself. Such a fantastic chat between the two gentlemen. Virat Kohli will be up against his favourite opposition, the Aussies, Sunny G. 8 centuries against them in Test 6.
Grimson, Joe Root, these are the top 4 batters in the world. Everybody talks about it. He's now seen Steve Smith get 100. So he will definitely want to get 100 to show that, look, he's got it, even I can get it. And so I think that will be his aim at the moment. But of course, before that, there's Rohit Sharma, there's Shubman Gill. We are all looking forward to see how Shubman Gill bats on this surface. There is a little bit of help for the quicker bowlers. We've seen even today on day 2, the odd ball climbing up. So that'll be quite interesting as well.
Steve Smith has already reached the milestone of 2,000 test runs against India, and Virat Kohli is just a few runs away from that as well. So he will be itching to make a mark, Naz.
He will. I mean, he's already made a mark on world cricket. I love that interview about his aggression and his authenticity. I've been doing a documentary here in UK talking to various leaders, and all of them mention authenticity as a captain. Don't try and be someone else. He mustn't try and be Rohit Sharma. Rohit Sharma mustn't try and be Virat Kohli. He has that aggression and passion, and a side ends up mirroring its captain. That Indian side, what they did to England that evening at Lord's, where Kohli sat in the huddle and said, "Unleash hell on this England side," and that's exactly what they did. A side ends up mirroring their captain. Kohli's side is different from a Rohit Sharma side.
Yeah, but we're certainly looking forward to that fiery contest, aren't we? We'll have to wait a little bit for that. But as we move ahead into the last segment of the show, let's get started with our poker bazi predictions. How quickly do you think India will be able to wrap Australia?
I think within the next hour, India should be able to get into bat. Definitely before tea, they'll be batting.
Naz?
Yeah, I agree with that, but just keep an eye on it. If this tail wags and it gets it above 450, 60, 70, then that will be dangerous for India.
Who do you think will be the wrecker-in-chief?
I'd like to think, Shami and Siraj, yes, that last over from Shami was a bit iffy because, anybody is being asked to bowl or having bowled earlier, that he's just got to bowl 1 over, he's got to warm up, loosen up, so that's not easy. But I think that Siraj and Shami have by far looked the guys who will take the wickets.
And what will Australia's game plan be?
I think they'll be really positive here. They will tee off, especially if Cummins goes Carey. Watch out for him, he'll go into one-day mode. What I'm looking forward to most is when they turn up to bat India. Shubman Gill and Rohit.
And who's been in such situations and has led India to victory from there on. Saurav Ganguly is with us on Jindal Panther Cricket Live. Dada, what went wrong for Team India when they got out there to bat? There was intent in the beginning, but then those wickets
right throughout this test match. But you expect to see this in test matches in these conditions. So they may have lost a couple of wickets early, but it's a lot of batting to come. You need a partnership from Pujara and Virat Kohli, and you will get good deliveries. You will, when you bat as a team, everybody doesn't get runs. There will be somebody who will get out early, and there'll be some who will get in. But the people who get in must make sure that they get a big score, which Australia did for Travis Head and Steve Smith, and the rest did not. So, yes, it's early doors on the Indian batting innings. They've lost a couple of wickets, but a lot depends on Virat Kohli and Cheteshwar Pujara to take India to a good position by the end of the day.
We'll look ahead at that in a bit, Dada, but India stand at 37 for 2 right now. What could the openers have done differently, you think?
As I said, obviously you expect them to bat. You expect them to bat better. You expect them to see the new ball through. But that's easier said than done. There are times when you will get knocked in like this. And Rohit Sharma started well. Shubman Gill looked very positive. I think Australia bowled a bit of a back of a length early on. And then once they got the ball to pitch up in these conditions, there will be movement for Cummins, for Boland, for Stark, for Green. They're tall, fast bowlers. So they're coming at a height, and they will create problems for the batters. You have to fight that period and get runs. So this is expected. I'm not surprised with the new ball in these conditions, having played so many years in this country. But as I said, that's gone. It's time for Pujara and Kohli to bat better and put India into a good position. They have a long batting. They bat deep with Jadeja coming down the order, and Shardul Thakur can bat. Bharat can bat. So there is batting, but you need that application and need that fight and guts.
Lots of positive words coming from you, and we like that little smile on your face, Dada. But let's talk about Scott Boland. He came in place of Josh Hazelwood in the last minute because of Hazelwood's injury. He's playing.
Holds that line consistently day in, day out and creates problem for the batsman. So India will have to bat really well. India will have to make sure that the new ball starts getting older, because batting becomes a bit easier once it starts getting older. It's only 7 overs old at this stage, and then hopefully they can battle it. Pujara has been in this situation before. Kohli has been in this situation before. They both have looked solid for whatever little bit they have played. He's outside the off stump, as he's already done today a few times just before tea. He knows how to score runs in these conditions. He's a great player. You know, his test record is very good. His one-day record is probably the best ever in the history of one-day cricket. And he will know what the situation requires. And same as Pujara. They've both played 100 test matches, immense experience, have been in these situations many a number of times, and they've fought the situations well in the past. So it would be to guts it out, make sure you know where your off stump is, and every time there's a scoring opportunity, keep scoring runs, because that will put the pressure back on Australia.
When you talk about Cheteshwar Pujara, it's interesting to know that he made his way to the English shores before everybody else because he wanted to acclimatise himself. He wanted to stray through to the game, and he wanted to ensure that he kept playing cricket in this particular country because he knew that the World Test Championship final was around the corner. Cheteshwar Pujara talks to us about batting long hours in these crucial conditions.
That's exactly.
Yes, Dada.
And that's exactly what I was talking about, batsmanship. You know, he said you've got to be in the middle for a period of time to understand how's the wicket doing. Runs that test cricket don't come easily. So he knows what it requires. At bending time, batting becomes easier. One must understand the hardest bit is when you come in.
Yeah.
When you come in these conditions for anybody, whether it's Virat Kohli, whether it's Pujara, whether it's Steve Smith, whether it's the great Sachin Tendulkar in his time, you know, the first 15-20 minutes or half an hour will be the hardest bit. But the best players in the world get through that. You know, you look at Pujara's first-class cricket in England, averaged 7 matches, he averages 68, he's got 300s. His teammate, Steve Smith, got 100. So it's time for him to come to follow it up with another 100 for India. And he exactly summed it up what needs to be done. Just grind and grind. And as you keep playing, batting will become easier. And that's exactly what they need to do. You will not get a test match 100 in these conditions if you don't bat 6 hours. And you will only bat 6 hours if you keep making less mistakes. And that's exactly what they need to do.
Beautifully summed up, Dada. Patience and perseverance will get you everywhere when it comes to the purest format of the game. But you've been in such situations and you've come out on top, on the winning side. If you were in that dressing room and you were the captain, what would your advice be to that middle order, to the batters that follow?
That's exactly what I said. And I'm sure Rahul Dravid, who's batted at number 3 in these conditions, many a times with enormous success. I think he's got about 5 or 6 600s in England, or probably more. 6 or 7 test hundreds in England, and we played in a generation where we enjoyed batting here. Myself, Sachin, Rahul, Virendra Sehwag, you know, they've played fantastically in these conditions. So he will exactly pass his experience what needs to be done. Is it get forward, leave deliveries outside off stump, see the new ball through. If it's there to be pitched up, hit it into the gaps, because there is enormous gaps in the field because Australia will attack, and see how you are after half an hour. See how you are after an hour. It's a mental patience game. It's a mental toughness game that you grind and bat in these situations. And this is exactly what these two boys will do.
But what should they be wary of, Cheteshwar Pujara and Virat Kohli? What should they watch out for?
Don't worry about anything. Just play the ball. You know, you don't worry as a batsman, because if you start worrying in the middle, then you'll be having a problem. And they have not played 100 test matches just by worrying. There is a bit of steel and bit of confidence in both of them, and they will grind that bit. It may happen that they get a Jaffa from Scott Boland or Pat Cummins or Mitchell Starc, and I see Pat Cummins and Scott Boland more dangerous on this pitch than Mitchell Starc. So they understand that at the back of your mind, that I might get a beautiful delivery. You can't do about it. You get out. But you keep fighting that period. Bad balls, as I said, has to be put away. They must remain positive, which they are, and pat the session. They know it. They've done it before. It's about executing it again and again.
I hope they're listening to you because they can certainly take away words of wisdom from you. Thank you so much, Dada. We will get across to the next session where Virat Kohli and Cheteshwar Pujara have to play the waiting game. Cricket Live. Thank you so much for joining us back on the show. We've got a legend in the house. Sunny Gavaskar joins us. Sunny ji, where did it go wrong for Team India? 5 wickets down. Total of 12 wickets that we saw today. 7 for the Australians. 5 for Team India.
I think it's a couple of misjudgments from somebody like Shubman Gill, who's been in such great form. Losing him was a big blow. Rohit Sharma has not been the best of touch in the IPL. So him playing across the line was not that much of a surprise. But again, Pujara, not quite, covering. Indian bowlers did a superb job, no question about it. But today, I think the batters had to stand up. At the end of the day, they are much more heralded than the bowlers are. And on a pitch like this, I think they should have, stood up.
Let's talk about a man who made his comeback into the Test team after 8 months, Ajinkya Rahane. One of the few batters out there that has a...
Now the way he has, it looks good. He's looking good. He was a little bit lucky with that no ball being called, but never. Every batter needs a little bit of luck, and I'm hoping that he'll carry on and take India to a total which is closer to the Australian total.
Our MRF drives of the day came from the bats of Ravindra Jadeja and Ajinkya Rahane. They looked quite settled when they were out there, and India lost. The top 3 lost their wickets to incoming deliveries on these conditions. Yeah. Could they have done anything differently?
Yes, I think they could have possibly not. So which means that when you're looking to play the ball as late as possible, your bat is nearer the ball, not up in the air. And because the bat was up in the air and not nearer the ball, they allowed the ball to go through. You play the ball late at the last moment, that's what they say. And so with the bat up in the air, they were not able to bring it down when the ball nipped back just a little bit. Yes, these kind of errors of judgments can happen. But by having the bat up in the air, they didn't give themselves the chance to come in and do something at the last second.
Sunny, you have a double 100 here. How would you have handled the situation, coped with the pressure? Tell us.
Well, different days, different era. There was a little bit more happening over here today, no question about it, with the ball moving around the odd extra bounce. So and also when you're fielded for 469, you get a bit tired. Mentally you're a bit tired. You're standing in the slips as a slip catcher, as an opening batter, and so that takes a toll of your concentration as well. You're looking at the edge of the bat. So when you go out to bat, sometimes you're not fully 100% over there. But to the Australians, credit, they bowled well, and so they got the wickets.
Yeah, credit to them, obviously. But we all look to one man to shoulder this responsibility and make some big runs. Virat Kohli looked strong. He started well. But that unplayable delivery from Mitchell Starc, how would anybody face that delivery and have handled it? As well, unfortunately, we saw Virat Kohli's dismissal quite early on, but that wasn't the case with Steve Smith and, of course, his partner, Travis Head, Ultratech #1 performers, obviously, 285-run partner.
They batted really well. We could have tried the short ball, bouncer tactic against Travis Head, because everybody from the Australian commentary team up here was screaming, bounce him, bounce him, bounce him. And yet, by the time we tried the bouncer, he had already got to 70, 80 or thereabouts.
Look, when they came into day 2 of the WTC final, Australia had lost only 3 wickets with 2 informed batters who were just having a go out there in the middle. So we definitely have to credit the Indian bowlers who picked up 7 wickets today. They really came together as a unit, Sanjay.
Definitely. I think otherwise we could have been looking at something like a 504.
Bowled with a lot of purpose, and all of them. If you look at day 1, you see spells every now and then from Shami and Siraj, but the others, not much from them. But I think on day 2, contribution from all of them, including Jadeja as well. I thought all 5 of them bowled beautifully. The execution was spot on as well.
Yeah, we'll chat a little bit more about that on our show, but time for a short breather, as when we come back, we will look ahead at day 3 and find out what India needs to do to stay alive in this WTC final. Don't go anywhere. 151 for 5. I know that we've been pensive on the show, but there is one man who will be smiling away, possibly a bigger smile than he had on yesterday. Welcome back to Jindal Panther Cricket Live, Justin Langer, former head coach of Australia. How happy are you primarily, and how do you think the mood in the camp will be after
Well,
day 2?
Australia is certainly in their prime position at the moment. What I'm smiling about is what great test cricket it was today. I love how Siraj came out, energy, some aggression, and Australia lost 7 wickets for just...
Justin, how accurate were the Aussie bowlers with their lines and lengths today?
Well, as you would expect from Scott Boland, there's been a lot of talk in England about Scott Boland. No one's really seen him here, but he is... If you look in the...
Look, Sunny, Australia are on the driver's seat, but India needs to have a strong game plan for day 3. What will it be?
Well, obviously to try and get as close to the Australian total as possible. First and foremost, the target would be to get past the follow-on, though having seen with what the Australians have seen and experienced in 2001 when Rahul Dravid and VVS Lakshman had that massive partnership. I'm sorry I'm reminding you of that.
I remember it too well.
For 2 days, they batted for almost 2 days, and then India came back on the last day and dismissed Australia and won the test, and then went on to win the next test match as well. So I do not think that the Australians will entertain any thoughts of giving a follow-on. Because again, if they do and India bat well, because India has got the batting ability, they made some misjudgments, they made some errors, and they were out shouldering arms and getting bowled. But they could score a lot of runs, and like it happened at Eden Gardens. On the last day when the ball is turning, maybe Jadeja can do some magic. So I don't think that's going to happen. So India's first target will be to get past that 269 and try and reduce the lead as much as possible.
TTG, how can India regroup and come back strongly tomorrow? What would your suggestions be?
My thing would be just put your head down and bat for as long as possible. Not just worry about anything. Forget about the scoreboard. Just play on the merit of the ball. Listen, the Australian bowlers were spot on. Discipline, the channel bowling that we keep talking about, especially in these conditions, it's very difficult to get away with it. So you just put your head down, your chin high, and just get on with your job and not worry about anything else. Just go on and bat for as long as possible. And as Sanisha said, listen, if you don't even worry about follow-on, because as far as I'm concerned, the Australians will be looking at this as a 6 test match series. Yeah. So there's no follow-on coming. Even if India skittles out, they'll still end up playing 70-odd overs. You would want to give break to your bowlers because you've got 5 Ashes test matches coming up. So there is no follow-on. That's not happening. So don't worry about that. Just put your head down, keep batting. 3 days to go. You never know where you can get.
And what about the men from down under? The Aussie bowlers were on the money today, and I'm sure that they will have their plans sorted for tomorrow.
Yeah, and I thought I was a little concerned that they might be a bit rusty. They've only been bowling in the nets. Some of them have bowled a few overs in the IPL, but they've been bowling in the nets. But they come out after the first couple of overs. They come out and they were just absolutely on song. They hit the perfect length. A big part of it for me was Pat Cummins, the Australian captain, dismissing Rohit Sharma, the Indian captain. Now, those little battles within each other, the captain versus the captain, that was a big dismissal. And then Paddy Cahy showed the way as captains who showed the way. Scotty Boland did what he does best. Mitchell Stark, that ball to Virat Kohli, my gosh, it nearly ripped his hand off, extra bounce. And then, of course, who we keep forgetting is Nathan Lyon. He's such a good bowler against left-hand batsmen. He came on, good captaincy, dismissed Jadeja, who'd been playing really well and taking some momentum into tomorrow. That was a big dismissal tonight as well.
Is it fair to ask both of you that the major difference was how both the teams bowled with the new ball? Yesterday the Indian bowlers and today the Australian bowlers, the first 20-25 overs. Is it fair to say that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the line and the length was completely different. Yeah, Shami and Siraj did ask big questions in the first session. But after that, there was nobody to follow up. On the other hand, for Australia, you've got Cummins and Stark, and you've got Boland coming in and bowling well. You've got Cameron Green using his height to good effect. So they had bowlers who consistently put pressure on the Indian batters. That didn't quite happen once, Siraj and Shami finished their 6 overs each. And that's unfair. They've been bowling only 4 overs in a game, spread over 20 overs. So they have not bowled 4 consecutive overs at all. So it's very, very difficult for them to be bowling 6, 7, 8 overs. So clearly, I think they didn't get the support that they needed, and which is the reason why Australia could recover and bat the way they did. Travis Head and Steve Smith batted splendidly, absolutely splendidly. I mean, there was no chance really when you look at it. You might talk about the tactics, that there should have been a bouncer ball, etc. But by the time they thought about the bouncer, Travis Head was about 80 or 90.
Yeah, and I would argue that it wasn't the new ball because David Warner was out just before lunch.
Yeah.
Marnus Labuschagne was just after lunch. So all of a sudden, they're 3 down for 70. I would suggest, besides that, probably 1 or 2 loose overs from Yadav, India bowled beautifully with the new ball. But it was, as Sunny G says, it was after that, there's no pressure. And Steve Smith, Travis Head counter-attacked. He played beautifully. He played like Rishabh Pant, or he'd come out like Adam Gilchrist and just took the attack to India, took away the momentum, and Steve Smith just does what he's scored his 31st Test 100. Yeah. We know it's hard enough to score 1 Test 100. He's now got 31 Test 100s, talking to the master, but 31 Test 100. He just went about his business. It was, for cricket aficionados, people who love the game, it was amazing to watch those two bat yesterday.
Yes, and those overs from Umesh Yadav actually relieved the pressure, because till then India had kept the pressure on as well. The moment those boundaries came in those 2 overs, suddenly the pressure seemed to to go, and there was a freedom in the way the Australians batted after that.
Some great conversations from the 3 of you here. Thank you so much for your time and thank you for your insights. Day 1 and 2 belong to the men from down under. Hopefully, India is day 3 lucky. We'll come back tomorrow fresh and ready for this WTC final. Don't go anywhere. Stick with us throughout our coverage. But for now, it's good night.
Once again.